So this has been wonderful. I'm learning so much. And I will say that for me, the key word in this is practical. It's the word that kept coming out for me, the practical part. And so I made a list. I have a few items. And the first one is to start with the person closest to you. And that person that you have the greatest effect on, that you can have the greatest influence over, and that person is actually yourself. Start with yourself, examine your own biases, ask yourself about your values. What do you believe in? What prejudices do you have? How do you behave? And not only how do you think you behave, how do you think others perceive you? So start thinking about those things. And then what are your hot buttons? What are your triggers? What are the things that aggravate you? What are the ways that you can grow and do better? So I feel like greater self-awareness, greater mindfulness of your own culture, your own belief systems, your own values, your own actions, your own behaviors, even your own speech, how your tone, the way you say things, how that might be affecting other people. All of those things will help you with regards to communicating with others and then addressing and being more open to people from other cultures. The second thing on my list is to check your own assumptions. And so, since we're talking about cross cultural conflict management, we don't want to make the assumption that because there's a conflict and that conflict might be between people of different cultures, that the conflict itself is a result of the cultures. It could be a task-based conflict. It could be a processes conflict, different views about how something should be done or different views or ideas about what should be done. So we don't want to make assumptions that just because, there's a woman over here arguing with a man, that's, the basis for why there's a conflict. And then we don't want to assume that the little bit we think we know, and I say think like with a lot of emphasis, the little bit that we think we know about someone or their culture or about who they are, we don't want to assume that it's applicable to that person, that situation, or even that culture. Just, just because you can look at me and say, okay, that's an African American woman, she does this, this, that, and that. Maybe, maybe not. Don't assume. And so from there, I go to my third point, which is to learn about the people around you. And there's so many ways to do it now. I mean, when I was young, I had to go to the library and go to the card catalog, which Alyssa, you probably don't know what that is. Um, but literally, you go, you have to look things up in a little box and go find books off the shelves, and then you have to open all the books on the table. Now you can Google. You have endless numbers of documentaries and videos and movies and books and all kinds of ways that you can learn about all kinds of people. And then you can ask questions and ask from a place of sincere curiosity. Um, make people feel I'm really interested. I really want to learn. I really want to know this about you. But then you also have to give them the space because if everyone doesn't always feel like teaching. So ask with a openness that you really want to learn, but then also be accepting of the fact that they may not really want to share it right at that point, but then maybe they'll come back later and you all can have experience together or spend some time together and you can still learn. But that's another thing I think is very important. And then I mean Dr. Singh and Mr. Weiner have already spoken about this, and you too, Jeremy, is to listen. I think is probably the most important aspect of communication. And listen with the intention of learning and not with the goal of sharing your ideas or of teaching them. Listen with the intention of learning from them. And I just, you're going to get from that in the long run. Also, my fifth thing is to highlight the presence and the contributions of various cultures. So, I mean, it's a good thing for people to be different. We're all made different for a reason. And it's because when we bring our best selves to anything, it's going to be better. Look at it like, like a party. Like we, before COVID, we used to have, house parties all the time. And I think I'm a pretty good cook. However, when I tell everyone, bring your best dish, bring the part or the thing that you want to share with everyone else. When everyone brings their best to the table, it makes the party so much better. And I think the same thing is true in any workplace, in any educational setting. I mean, a choir, a band, everyone's playing something different. If everyone brings their best, the product is going to be so much better. And then also, I mean, most of us are taught the golden rule growing up: do unto others as you have them do unto you. So, Dr. Tony Alessandro, he came up with the platinum rule, which I think is even so much better. It's do unto others as they want to be treated. That requires you to ask. That requires you to care. That requires you to want to build relationship to the point where you can ask, what is it that you want from me? What can I do? How can I do this better? How can I communicate with you? Help me to help us by you telling me, you sharing with me what it is I can do to make things better. And then I think one of the most important things is, like I said, we all have different talents, different gifts. So with regards to conflict in the workplace, whether it be cross-cultural or not, hire an expert, hire a conflict management professional to come in and help with this, because not only can they help with the presenting conflict, but they can help to teach and to train those parties how to communicate better in the future, and the organization as well. So those are sort of my practical tips with regards to how to deal with conflict, cross-cultural conflict management in the workplace.